It's Wednesday. Remember to take care of financial aid. We talked a little bit about learning today. This is CIS-332 database in SQL. We did a review of SQL, and then we talked about the next steps. Okay. We did some work with VR diagrams, and we did a practice. Not exactly in that order, but that's what we did. We are in week 7, and this is day 13. I reviewed, and maybe talked about the first time for some of the students, about some students are grade driven, some could be task driven, could be a little of both, and what I think is the most important is to be knowledge driven, working at learning. There's nothing wrong with working hard for good grades or getting your tasks done, but your goal should be to gain the knowledge from the subject, the whole idea of learning. In fact, you need to be careful here if you get so grade driven that you end up being what in some cases they call just a surface learner. Okay, you learn just enough to get the grade, but you're not really gaining the knowledge. Tasks are good, you get very good at doing tasks, but that kind of work might not be around in the future. You always find somebody who can do those same tasks a little bit faster and a little bit cheaper. You kind of become a commodity. So we live in a world where knowledge is a big part of what we do. A little bit about SQL. Some people need improvement, some are doing pretty good, and everybody fits somewhere in between. What we have to do is we have to move up here. We need to know SQL. There's not a lot new things to do, not much new left to do. So we have most of it already introduced or we've been working on. Now we just have to get better at it in order to be able to use it later on. Now, why do we use SQL? Well, it's a structured query language, and it's the same language that's used, or pretty close to the same, in a lot of different databases, relational databases. Alright, and then eventually then we can apply that using. Alright, so why SQL? Structured query language. Helps us design. It's a method to manipulate and manage data. It's supposed to be English-like, and you can apply it to a lot of different databases. So we look at this in general here. Take this overall view. The external, conceptual, and internal. So let's take a closer look at it. External, up here at the top, we have this whole idea. We have browsers and web servers, and we have the views of the data, right? Code and HTML, and then HTML can include PHP, which allows us, PHP will allow us to access SQL. So this programming part kind of runs the gamut here all the way through our design phases a little bit. Okay, so from here we get an external view, and then we come in, and here then we develop entity relationship diagrams to match the conceptual. We're using the chin method of doing that. So the key is being able to see the identities from the design, what we would do. And then internally, eventually we create the tables in the SQL manages the data out on the disk for us. Actually, the operating system does that, but SQL manages sending it to the operating system for us. Alright, so the students worked on a let's see here, I think it was practice 6 today. So that was our SQL work, along with going through the previous test. Already covered this information. So then, let's take a look here. What we did is we started to create our diagrams. I started out with student, and then I said the student can take a course, and the course can have a student taking it, and in fact many students can take many courses. Another relationship, a student has parents, okay, so parents can have lots of students going to school, but each student only has one parent, one set of parents. And here we could start drawing attributes connecting to our entities. Okay, so let me mark it here. We'll mark it in yellow, so we have an entity. Let me back that up. We have an entity in rectangle students. We have an entity courses. We have an entity parents, and we have an entity an advisor. Now, if you look at this, let's use this. An advisor has a relationship with a student. One advisor can have many students. But each student, the way we have it set up, has only one advisor. This double line in here, what we're saying is a student has to have an advisor. So the student is dependent upon the advisor entity. So we refer to the student then here with the double box. It's referred to as a weak entity because it relies on another entity in order for its existence. If we didn't have the advisors, we couldn't have the students because the student has to have an advisor. Alright. We're going to keep working at those here to finish up the day. This one we did the other day. Here's an entity, artist. Here's an entity, album. Double box, that's a weak entity because you can't have an album without an artist. So an album is dependent upon the artist. One artist can make many albums, but each album, the way we have it designed here, can only have one artist. Alright. So students need to, I think we called it assignment 3, but that's their individual. That's their individual database. And they need to have something posted so then I can create their databases on the actually on Work Server 2. Alright, and keep working at your SQL. So that's it for today.